Welcome along to Tweet Street Scotland Occupied, home of the satirical sold hire. I'm Cinnamon Bridges, aka Peter, and with me tonight I've got one of the local candidates in the Kilmarnock ward, the Kilmarnock North ward, Wendy Mcdonald. Hi Wendy, how are you doing?
Hi there Peter, thanks for having me on. I'm great, thank you.
I love the fact that you're here, and I love your hoodie, although it's kind of a creased there a wee bit. I think that says Alba. It does.
Okay, cool.
Brilliant. Right, so tell us a wee bit about yourself and why you're running for council in the Kilmarnock North ward.
So for 2014, I started getting involved locally with the Yes East Ayrshire shop, and then getting involved with the marches. And through the marches, I started meeting people that were involved in other things. So it was me and a friend who had started doing homeless collections for the homeless, like clothes and food and things like that, because it's terrible in this day and age, people are going without. So then after that, I was just handing out leaflets for marches and things like that. And then the people at All Under One Banner contacted me and asked me if I'd like to go there. Well, I was already filming for people in the march that couldn't attend. So I brought that with me to All Under One Banner, and also the food bank collections and the clothing collections, me with this other friend. And ever since then, I've tried to participate in everything I can. I left All Under One Banner and I went to Yes 2 and done marches with them and filmed with them. And I get sick of, I'm actually sick of waiting in independence, and I feel as if it's time I do something else, something maybe more local to help people out, whilst promoting independence and what it can bring to the community.
It's absolutely brilliant to hear, because I've had the pleasure of being on independence marches with you, watching and listening to the chants that you try and bring along, because you're usually quite close to the front. That's one thing that I've noticed. You're usually quite close to the front, if not at the front itself. But I've also had the pleasure of using some of your footage for just the last march that we had there that finished up in Glasgow Green, where we had the SNP's Stephen Flynn there. Now I remember, because you encouraged me with your wee, give us a date then when he mentioned the token mention independence that SNP seem to do every now and again. And it encouraged me, emboldened me to actually, because he'd spoke about the renewables deal, and I heckled him and says that his party had sold us out renewables.
Core. Let's do that, and let's do that together. You know, whilst Westminster was dealing with the chaos of a ridiculous Prime Minister over the course of this week, in Scotland there was an announcement that you've all probably seen about Scotland, the £700 million that's coming in as part of the renewables revolution that's about to happen off our coast. Let's make sure that the resources that Scotland has, at this time they benefit the people of Scotland, and that they don't end up plundered by the Tories at Westminster. And let's take that positive vision for Scotland, of the vision that we want, or the way we want Scotland to be, and let's take it to the people. Let's take it to their doorsteps, leaflet after leaflet, conversation.
Give us a date for a vote then!
Conversation. And let's make sure that collectively, together, we become independent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Give us some action!
Now, they've sold us out the free ports, renewables, independence, and it's a case of the things that you do and the things that you have done. These are all the things that I've noticed for Alba came on the scene. The focus is on poverty and families and independence and women's rights. What's your stance as far as, because we're going to have this GRA potentially passing through Parliament or through the committee on the 3rd of this month. What's your thoughts on that, Wendy, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's shocking. I don't think it's right where people are feeling uncomfortable. I'll talk about the schools, for example, like bringing in the lassies and boys sharing the toilets. I think that's a really bad idea, because lassies don't really like to go to the toilet in the schools. I mean, you're going there with a bunch of boys. You maybe have private things, maybe in your period and things like that, personal things. You're going to feel more even uncomfortable in the toilets with boys. You might even, this might be far-fetched saying, but you might even have people being assaulted and things like that in the toilets, because I know a lot of carry-on goes on in the toilets in the schools. You also don't know if people's like hidden disabilities, their anxiety and things like that. You're making them feel worse. I don't think it's a good idea at all. I think it's shocking.
Aye, I mean,
there was the word mother. They tried to eradicate the word mother. I mean, are we just allowing this to happen?
Well, certainly, if I've got anything to go by, or Tweet Street have got any chance to prevent these things from happening, we'll be doing all that we can, because I'm an advocate for women's rights. There's been a lot of strong women in my life, and I know the value that women have as far as safeguarding and kids is concerned. To actually have, especially on Women's History Month, to begin the Women's History Month, it starts today. And we've got another event coming up that you're going to be joining us with later on in the week for International Women's Day. Later on next week for International Women's Day. There's so much that I see within the Alba Party that used to be present in the SNP, but they were more prevalent within the SNP from my recollection when the current leader of the Alba Party was the current leader of the SNP. It seems to be that the SNP have lost their way, and Alba seemed to be the natural replacement for me. Was that part of the reason why you had joined Alba? Was there something more?
Just to get back to what you were saying there, do you ever remember seeing Nicola Sturgeon in the news saying that she was elected on about the GRA? No.
The Gender Recognition Reform Act has caused significant division in your party, in your government indeed. Are you likely to offer a free vote on that when it comes to Holyrood?
Well, that would be a decision for my parliamentary group, and they will decide that in due course. The plans, again, these were plans in our manifesto at the election last year, the election that we won overwhelmingly, and we'll set out the timetable for that legislation in the very near future.
You were elected for independence.
Absolutely.
The reason Alba are there is because of the lack of their incompetence. I mean, they went in there for independence. They're only voted in there for that reason. They've done nothing but feed us carrots. How many mandates have they had? How many times has the Act of the Union been broken, and we're still sitting here? And I'm sick of every time we go to the marches and rallies and they're speaking, and we're hearing the same old rhetoric. We're hearing the word sovereign and we stand and clap like seals. I'm just sick of it. Alba here are here because of SNP not doing what they were elected to do. And I support them 100%, obviously. Before the Alba Party came out, I thought all hope was lost in independence. But as soon as they came out, the fire started burning bright again. And they're the ones that's going to bring us independence, I believe.
Oh, I happen to share your beliefs in this situation. I don't see the SNP doing anything. As far as I can see, they're actually going backwards. Let's talk a wee bit. Let's broaden it a wee bit and take it to. I mean, because obviously our main opposition is Westminster. There's been a lot going on in the world of late that's very concerning. The situation with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, obviously, as peace-loving Scots, we're against all forms of war. Mm-hmm. But there was something that happened that slightly alarmed me. Was the attack again on Alex Salmond for him, his production of the Alex Salmond Show, which is done by a Scottish company, and it's sold to was sold to Russia Today. Alex has withdrawn that production, but it was more the attacks from and I'm noticing this more often, the unionist media or the unionist parties and mainstream media seem to club together, but we also seem to have the SNP joining forces with them. Now, I'm right against the mainstream media because of their biased representation of Scotland. I mean, just today, I don't know if you noticed it, or maybe you've been busy with working and other commitments that you've got, that BBC Scotland had said that they're looking at doing a spaceport in North UK. Now, the North UK that they were referring to was in Shetland. Have you seen that today at all?
No, I haven't. I've not seen anything like that. I've not seen the news at all today.
Right, well, it peed me off a wee bit because we know how the mainstream media work. We know how BBC Scotland is BBC anything but Scotland. You know, it's depressing to see the leader of what was supposed to be the independence movement, or the party of independence, then ganging up on another independence-seeking party with the mainstream media. What was your thoughts on the overall situation with that, Wendy?
To me, that is just pathetic. It's another way to try and slander Alex. Look what they've done before with them. This is no different. It's just trying to bring the man down. I don't see them having a go at George Galloway or anybody else like that that's still working for RT. It's just a way to try and bring the man down. But that man is the one that's going to do the job that the SNP are incapable of.
Aye, I mean, we know ourselves that, like, if we go back to 2014, the heady days of 2014, before September, and we started building and getting to, well, we got to officially 45% without any ballots being checked thereafter, but the replacement to Alex Salmond insisted that the ballots didn't need to be checked for whatever reason.
Do you believe it was 45?
Well, when you look at all the contributing factors, Wendy, I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious that it was more than 45, and it was passed off as 45, which if it was 45 and it was officially 45, we'll never know. But I was one of those 45, as I'm sure you were.
Peter, I was sitting watching the Sky News that night when the camera went to the no pile, the yes votes in the no piles. I couldn't believe it. I seen it with my own eyes. There should have been something more done about that.
Aye, I mean, we're now, nearly 8 years on, and you look at where we're at versus where we were then, because thereafter we were riding on the crest of the wave. Everybody was getting the civic Scottish independence movement was involving everybody. It was inclusive of everybody. We're now at a stage where certain ones have been told, well, we're bigots, we're not the right type of independence supporters, and creating division with Trojan horses like the GRA and implementing it into Scottish schools. And for me as a parent, that's what concerns me greatly. I don't see, especially with the child sex survey that they're introducing into school and asking questions.
That's horrible. I wouldn't answer that.
Exactly. And the MPs or the MSPs themselves didn't want to answer it. I know that they're quick to block people on Twitter anyway, but they were really quick to block anybody that asked them that question. And for me, that shows that, well, hold on, if you're not prepared to answer these questions, why are you asking children that? Why are you asking for kids to keep secrets from their parents? Why is there all these attacks on women? Because allegedly women were the people that needed to be convinced to vote yes after 2014. For me, I mean, we had Campbell Martin on a podcast a while back. Campbell Martin was telling us about infiltration at the high levels of the SNP. And his book is a great read, by the way. If you've not read it, get it. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. It gives you an insight to what you thought you knew back then, and it confirms it in writing. And the fact that he's not been taken to court or sued or anything lets us know that it's quite accurate.
That book, I'm not sure. Is it? It's not a hardback. It's just a paper.
It's just a paperback.
I've seen it got that. Jan got me it.
It's called "Was It Something I Said?"
I got that, and I'm reading it.
I was wondering where it was because it's running about me. There it's there, right? There you go, Campbell. Another wee plug for your book, mate. Anyway, it's a great read. It's a fascinating read.
It is.
But it shows you that the SNP might not be quite what they make out to be. We like to do a bit of Tory bashing in this podcast. Myself and John, my usual co-host, we can't make it tonight for personal reasons. But we like to do a bit of Tory bashing. But I thought we'd kind of bring it up to date because Pete Wishart's been in the press the past couple of days. It looks as if he was either planting carrots or digging up carrots with some unionists. I don't know if you've seen this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a wee screen share just to show where the image that I'm talking about, just to give you a wee bit of better understanding. So you bear with me a wee second.
He's blocked me.
Well, the thing is, I've got a picture, so you'll be able to see it here. Right? Hey Wendy, so this was posted just yesterday from Pete's own account. And as you'll see here, Pete's saying it's fantastic to visit farm businesses in Perthshire from the Scottish Affairs Committee. There are a number of issues we have to help resolve around seasonal workers. Thanks to Glendoick for the hospitality and for the tree. Now, he's said it's a tree. He's standing there with Andrew Bowie, with Dougie Ross, Mary Black's in the background, and there's another couple there. No marks, but it looks as if the Tory party are branching out in Scotland.
It looks like they're better together, doesn't it?
Well, that's the way that they're trying to push it.
Is Pete bent over on his knee or something? Is he? I'm seriously.
No, he's actually stood as if he's digging his foot on the top of a spade, as if he's digging for more carrots or digging to grow more carrots for the rest of the so-called SNP independent supporters to be dragged along with. And what's your thoughts on seeing that?
It actually disgusts me that he's standing there with Douglas Ross, first of all. He needs to fling his keyboard away and get on with his day job.
Aye, definitely.
I need to watch my French. I really need to contain myself when I'm talking about Pete. It looks as if he's been planting some seeds for the carrots for when 2023 comes so he can hand them all out again. Or maybe for near May.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm seeing. Right, we'll stop this here and we'll get back into just our own chat. No.
Thank goodness you've removed him.
Well, hopefully, we can remove him from Parliament. If not, well, it'll not be with the local council elections, but if the next general election or Scottish election, because
do you know what sickens me, Peter? Sorry, do you know what sickens me? The fact that he celebrates being in there for 20 years, he should hang his head in shame.
Absolutely.
You're there for a reason, mate.
Absolutely. He's there to supposedly gain independence for Scotland and celebrates 20 years in the Parliament of our oppressor. He also applied for the Speaker's role when Mr. Bercow was standing down. Now, the next thing he'll be looking for is Ehrman. I think that's where he's possibly going to be the first SNP MP to get Ehrman in the House of Lords. Well, unless Nicola beats him, of course. Right. With that aside, right, let's come back to something that we both enjoy then, the independence marches. Now, you must have seen an awful lot in the independence marches, but I'm going to ask you, what's your favourite thing that you've seen in an independence march?
My favourite thing I've seen? I think it's like, see when you see like the Celtic and Rangers flag, although football shouldn't come into it, and I hate football, but football does come into it. See when I see them carrying the flag and they're wearing a Celtic and somebody's wearing a Rangers outfit, I love seeing that. I love seeing the kids with their faces painted. I like to take sweeties along with me or something, just so that I can, something for them to get. I love seeing the dogs. I always make sure I get the dogs, because if my lassie's not being able to come to the march, I like to let her see them. We're both dog mad.
Aye.
But most of all, I like to see when I'm filming coming down the hill and I see all these flags way, way back. It makes me so proud. It actually puts a tear in my eye. I'm so proud of everybody that does it.
I were. I mean, there's been some fascinating things that I've seen. I enjoy the atmosphere. Seeing all the flags, seeing the saltires waving proudly, and people, as you say, not just kids with their face painted. There's some adults that go with their face painted. I've been one of them, by the way. I've went with my face painted an Independence March, but it's the atmosphere, it's the togetherness. It's you say, it shouldn't be about a football team or about a religion or about a non-religion. It should be about the fact that you're proud to be Scottish, and that's the feeling that I seem to get. It seems to be absolutely electric. It's something. It's like a festival. It's like a festival. And
was you ever there when Shebim was there?
Aye.
And that was brilliant. It bucketed in, but nobody cared.
Aye.
We were all singing and dancing. That was brilliant.
That was the thing, and then gathered under the bridge that time, and it was.
Aye.
And
it echoed. It was great.
Splashing in puddles and having a right rare time. You know what I mean? Things that you would get the veins into.
Do you know what else is really good?
On you go.
Sorry, I don't know if my phone's crashing or what, but do you know what else is really good? The fact that you get new people that you've managed to bring over to the yes side. And although some folks say, it's just a march, who cares? You're actually bringing these new people over and they get that sense of being together and the passion, and they go on to take their friends, talk to them, convince them to the yes side, and then they say, there's a march on, come on, we'll go. And it brings more people and it's more togetherness. I really love it. I'm really loving the marches. I'm passionate for them.
Aye. It's a great feeling for anybody who's not been at an Independence March. And if you're watching this and you've not been at an Independence March, there's one, I think the 6th,
the 6th of March. Saturday.
Yep.
And that's
5th, sorry. Paisley, that's right. So there's one on the 5th. This will be going out.
Filming that.
Good. Well, this will be going out before the 5th. So if anybody that's not been to one, you want to go and experience it, get along to one of the Independence Marches. There's nobody turned away. Everybody's included. So go and see what it's all about if you've never been to one before. And if you're not able to...
Sorry, can I just say, see if there's somebody speaking at the rally or that you don't like, and you're saying you're not going because of that, don't be so stupid. Just don't listen to them. Just walk away when it comes to that. But come to the march, because without the marches, people would have thought we weren't there. We didn't have the passion for independence. Nobody would know over the world how we actually feel. What we do with the marches is we're creating an impact. We're bringing things to a standstill. Obviously, emergency services, they would get through and things like that. They're well catered for. We've got first aiders there. There's plenty of stewards. It's really great for getting the word out there, because without it, the way the media goes, they would make out we're back in our box. And I'm certainly not going back in there.
No, not a chance, not a chance. And for anybody who can't make it along for whatever reason, Wendy's just announced she's going to be doing some filming. As I say, I've been lucky enough to get some of Wendy's footage before, and I can't make it this week because I've got other commitments with trying to get other candidates, Alba candidates, profiled on the podcast that are running for the local council elections. So I can't make it along this week. However, I'll be tapping you for some of your footage, Wendy, so that I can put it out there.
Aye, that's all right. Help yourself. That's what it's there for, to get out.
Brilliant. Right. Now, we're going to talk about your ward. What's the things that in your area that will be your main focus? Obviously, there's a lot of services and things like that that will differentiate across the full of Scotland. So no, everybody's got to be the same. But what's yours?
Well, my big thing that I'm going to promote here is getting rid of the charge for the brown bins. See, the Scottish Government are encouraging people, green spaces, to get out and about and into your garden. People have gardens here. It doesn't matter whether you're a pensioner, whether you're low income, whether you're not working or not, there's this one charge. And you don't get a chance to pay it up either. As you pay, I think it's like 30 quid. Now, there's 32 councils in Scotland, and there's 10 of them that are you're having to pay for it. And even when you're paying for it, you're only getting it emptied for half the year. Yeah, I know people in Coatbridge that don't pay for it and get it emptied throughout the year, throughout the winter months. So, and also because you're having to pay for it, people are fly tipping and they're dumping their garden waste in fields and farmers' fields and things like grass and that. It builds up gases, which is no good for their animals, which is doing damage. So that's what I'm going to push for, to get rid of the charge in the brown bins.
That's brilliant. Because I've no long moved to this area. And I moved from an area that, as you say, it was Hamilton I came from before, and you didn't need to pay for your garden waste to get taken away. And I came here and I put my bin out after the missus was tidying up the garden. She likes to do a wee bit of gardening and what have you. And she put the bin out, and it was one of the neighbours that says, "Oh no, you need to phone and get a permit." As you say, you need to phone and get a permit. It lasts for the 6 months. You pay, I can't mind the cost of it. It was 30 odd quid, I think. And that empties it for 6 months, and then you need to get another one. And I found that, like, how is that encouraging people to for some people also, that don't get out other than their garden? How is it encouraging them to get out and do a wee bit of tidying up their garden and recycling if they're not able to do it without the extra cost? It's an oxymoron for me. Oh well, I go out and get in your garden and beat the stress, but well, you need to pay for us to come. And so, as you say, some people haven't got the income. Some people are unemployed. Some people, for whatever reason, they're overcommitted with their finances and they can't afford those extra outputs, especially with all the increases that are coming in for your gas, your electricity, and just all the services. So well done. I actually applaud you for that.
You know, it's not even just that, Peter. See, when you're buying your permit, you're buying it for the house. So see if you move to another house, you need to buy another permit. It's ridiculous.
That's, again, it's a way to print money, because they say that they're going to try and put all these council tax freezes on. They've no risen the council tax over X amount of years, but they're bringing in other charges that stop them from increasing the council tax. But
everything's going up apart from other wages. Every single thing's going up apart from our wages. And some people only have that enjoyment of the garden, and they're having to pay 30 quid to have it emptied. When they're recycling it, and I'm all for recycling, and it's getting recycled, it's getting turned into compost, but still, it's a wee bit too much. They're already paying enough.
It's squeezing us at every single end. Especially with the increases for energy, the energy market. Now, what was your thoughts on the deal for the renewables, Wendy, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, like you said, we were sold out, and I was so glad you shouted that out, Peter, because for as long as they're getting away with preaching to us, and nobody's questioning them, but I think it is great. I think it's terrible what they've done. We're producing all this energy. None of us is benefiting from it. We're paying through the nose to keep warm. And some people, it's heat or eat.
And we think in Scotland, the natural resources that we've got. And if we have a look at the blonde Egypt down the road who says we would be like the Saudi Arabia of renewables, of wind energy, and yet we're paying more price. There's charges put on Scotland's export costs down to England, and they get a discounted price versus what us that's producing. It's baffling as to how anybody.
There was a map I had seen, and it was the dearest prices in the UK, and it was us. We were the dearest prices, so we were producing that. I look out my windows and I can see all the windmills. We're not benefiting from it. It's terrible. It's really shocking. I'm sick of the way we're being treated.
We get treated like slaves, the colony that we are. Everything taken off us for the benefit of the masters, so to speak.
And we're shouting and nobody's listening.
No, not even the leader of the so-called Independence Party. What's your thoughts on, because obviously we've got a sensitive situation, a world sensitive situation at the minute with what's going on in Ukraine. What's your thoughts on Trident and being on the doorstep of our doorstep here in Scotland?
Well, I'm totally against it. If they want to keep it, send it down to Westminster, put it in the Thames. It's no good up here. Nobody's going to use it, because if somebody presses a button, everybody's going to press their buttons. I was on a show last night and we were talking about it, and we were talking about the time, oh God, was it Gaddafi they were accusing, or who was it? Oh, Saddam. They were saying, that he had stuff, and they didn't have anything, but it's okay for the UK to keep a hold of it. In America, no, it's no good. Get rid of it. Bears, not bombs.
I'm 100% with that as well. Bears, not bombs.
You can find money for wars. You can't find money for us, for the Wains, for our own.
I mean, poverty has grown in Scotland exponentially. There's food banks. There's no bedding and linen banks because people can't afford. Yeah, and baby, it's ridiculous when you look at the resources that a small nation like Scotland has got, and we pay through the nose for absolutely everything, and we get classed as being subsidy junkies and everything else. But Kwasi Kwarteng had come out with something interesting the other day in a thread, and again, you may have been busy in your jobs and actually doing your whatever canvassing or getting yourself out there to try and get yourself recognised for the Alba candidate running for the Kilmarnock North Ward. But he said that everything is dependent on the oil in the North Sea. I mean, we were told in 2014, again, Project Fear Mark 1, that it was running out, it was worthless, it was this, it was that. All of a sudden, it's became the most valuable thing, especially with the situation in Russia, with Russia and the Ukraine, and how oil prices per barrel have went up to $97, or it was over 100 a couple of days ago. It's back down to 97, but still at that. When you look at all of that and you think that, well, wait a minute, this is getting produced, this is coming from Scotland, and it's getting taken away from Scotland to be sold elsewhere at a profit for Westminster, and Scottish kids are going hungry. Scottish pensioners can't afford to put their heating on, as you say, it's heat or eat. They're going out and trying to buy other blankets to wrap themselves up because they can't afford to put their heating on. This isn't the Scotland that I envisaged. No. Even I'm not going to say the 19th of September 2014 because it took me a couple of weeks to get all that result, if I'm honest. But about December time, and it was a case of, right, we've learned, we've been here. The Yes movement started to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And everything was there for the right person just to give the go-ahead. 2017, 56 MPs sent down to Westminster should have been the call just to bring them straight back home the same day. Well, here you go, Scotland is now an independent nation. We then had the Brexit situation and how the devolved nations. Brexit. We'll no swear, but Brexit broke it. We then had the devolved nations getting excluded for the Brexit deals, or so it would appear. And you look at all of these things that should have been the firing gun for us to go, time for us to go. It wasn't. The Internal Markets Bill is another thing that's going to decimate Scotland and the Scottish Parliament, possibly. And the fact that nothing has been done about it alarms me greatly. What's your thoughts in that, Wendy?
Well, see, we were talking about the food banks and everything like that, and these are great and we really do need them, but we shouldn't need them. These are like a sticking plaster. We need these sorted. As you say, we're too rich a nation for this. We're being drained. We've had the Act of Evo as well. Nothing was done there. Margaret Thatcher herself said, once they're all elected, that's it. They can walk out. They never done it. They stayed there with their feet firmly under the table. You get the likes of Pete Wishart celebrating 20 years sitting in Westminster. That tells me everything I need to know about him and independence. The oil, we were running out of it then. They says it would not last forever. But we've not just got the oil. We've got tourism. we've got food, we've got the drink, gin is just next to whiskey. Whiskey's first, then it's a gin. We've got all these things, yet we're still sitting here, and there've been absolutely nothing done. Zero. There was a Freedom of Information Act requested, and they asked what have you done, and it was nothing. All they've done is put some newspapers through the door, and that probably went straight into a cat litter box or the blue bin. They do nothing for independence. They're too busy concentrating on everything else. I think it's shocking that we're getting poorer and poorer. I'm just sick of waiting. I'm really sick of it, and that's what's made me decide to. And I know as councillor, I can't really do anything that like an MP would do, and I wouldn't even like to think of that, because I just want to do something, and I can bring independence to the community, show them the benefits of it, what we can achieve from it, because I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of us getting taken for granted. I'm sick of having nothing.
Aye, I mean, I echo every sentiment you've shared there, Wendy, and it's great to hear that we've got people that, because it's often been said, people get into politics because they're that fed up of things happening to them, or something terrible has happened to them, and that's what's driven them into it. You've got an awful lot of what I class as the diamonds, the true diamonds of Scotland, working class people who are fed up being treated like, I don't know, something in the bottom of somebody's shoe, and being dragged along. So to see people like yourself and hear the passion that you're sharing, the words that you're sharing echo the feelings that I've got. So it's absolutely fantastic. It's an applaud for me already, but I really wish you well. I hope you do well. And if we can help to get some canvassers for your area, just drop us a message, because I've got a couple of people that live local to where you are, or round about where you're running at least, and we'll be happy.
Well, see tomorrow, as you happen to mention it, I'm going out at 4 o'clock. So
right.
You've got my email there, and I was going to say to you, since you maybe want to go out with Stuart anyway.
Well, listen, it doesn't make any difference to me. People that are trying to make a difference to Scotland, a positive difference, and pushing that independence message, and knowing you as I have done for as I say, just knowing your face, as I have done for independence marches, and your voice, and leading some of the chants that you do. I'll just leave that with me, and I'll sort something out. All right. Right.
You're welcome to come.
Oh well, listen. I'll have something sorted out. Don't you worry. Right. Let's get back onto this, because I'm not wanting to run away with too much of your time. So I know that you're busy. Right. The thing that I wanted to ask, and we'll probably finish up on this. In your honest opinion, do you think the SNP are doing anything to give us an independence referendum in 2023?
No.
I
don't think they've not got enough time. See, if they were going to give us a referendum in 2023, give us a date then, because see, as soon as you give us a date, it'll put all this stupid squabbling about parties and everything behind, because everybody will be like, 2014, working for the same goal. It's about aye or no, not about parties. So give us a date, but we're not going to get a date, and we're not going to get nothing in 2023. And can I also say, I used to be a die-hard SNP fan. I would argue till I was blue in the face with anybody about the SNP. I'm not an SNP hater, although I'll just leave it at that. But see now, if you criticise anything, you're called this and that. You're called a Yoon, a British spy. Do you know, I've been called a British spy. That made me laugh. You're allowed to criticise the people that are in government. That's what you're meant to do. We're not supposed to accept what they say. They do what we tell them to do, and they've done nothing. And I'm sorry if people don't like the criticism, but that's what it's about. If Alba was doing something that I didn't like, I would criticise them, but they're not. They're the ones that's pushing.
Aye, well, I mean, as a non-party affiliated individual here, I do what I do because, like you, I'm independent staff, Wendy. I love the thought of Scotland being independent. I would push for it. I would do whatever I could to push for it. The government of the day in Scotland don't seem to be interested. I mean, I've never heard an SNP leader say that they felt British.
At a Sikh temple in Glasgow, Nicola Sturgeon welcomed but questioned about COVID, local issues and another referendum. So why has she pitched people back into the independence debate?
What I've said in this election is that if you're voting SNP and to re-elect me as First Minister, first and foremost, you're voting for a First Minister whose top priority will be leading the country through the remainder of the COVID pandemic. You're also voting for the boldest, most transformative manifesto that any party has put before the Scottish people in a Scottish Parliament election. And when the crisis is over, yes, absolutely, you're voting for the right of the Scottish people to choose independence, should that be what the Scottish people want.
Now, the difference with a referendum this time round, assuming it happens, is that the nationalist independence family is split. Alex Salmond is running his own party, his own candidates. That's got to damage the cause, hasn't it?
Well, I'm not sure that's the case, but we'll see on polling day in terms of how votes are cast. But, you know, Alex Salmond's party currently is polling 1% in the opinion polls. That doesn't sound to be to me to be much of a split, more of a tiny splinter, if anything. I don't think in reality he is helping the cause of independence. You know, the cause of independence is not advanced by those who believe in it having an argument or a conversation amongst themselves about who believes in it most.
Do you feel at all British?
Yes, I've said this. This is not new. I've talked about this many times over the years. My grandmother was from the north of England. I've got family in England.
But it's more about the way people feel, and a lot of people feel like you. They feel both British and Scottish. You are asking them to make a choice to say you are now in an independent Scotland. They will no longer be British.
That's rubbish, with the greatest of respect. So if you happen to live in one of the independent Scandinavian countries, you're somehow no longer Scandinavian. I mean, it's...
Well, they won't have British passports, presumably.
British, well, you'll have a Scottish passport, and, you know, I'm not sure that many people are motivated in their political decisions, apart from the Tories, about the colour of their passports.
No, it's about identity.
But the British Isles is a geography. An independent Scotland will still be part of the British Isles.
Final question. Will Scotland be independent within 5 years?
I think so, yeah.
We're Scottish. There's so many times people say Scottish, not British. And I get the fact that there might be some soft noses, as the term might go. But for all the things that have gone wrong, because we were told that we would only stay in the EU if we voted no, right? We would only, what was the other big lie? Oh, the oil was running out. We've already covered that the oil was running out. Our families that had, or people who have come here for other continents to settle in Scotland, would only be safe in Scotland by voting no. So all of these lies, these, I hate saying this phrase, these better together lies, right? It just goes to show that it was all lies. These have been tricked by the union. These are now getting tricked by the carrot that's dragging these along. And people like Wendy are going out of their way to try and make a difference. So I think it's about time, it's beyond time, that we started to listen to these people, because we can be critical of the government, just the same as we would have been critical if it was Labour that was in charge. It would never be the Tories in charge, right? So I'm not even going to mention that. If it was Lib Dem, again, they've got as much chance as the Tories getting in charge in Scotland. But to have the SNP in the format that they are, with some of the hangers-on that they've got, it's a pure gravy train approach. It's a pure gravy train. They've got into politics for the money rather than the possibility of what they could have, what they could achieve for Scotland. And that's what makes me really sad. The fact that you can't criticise these people, or you're classed as this, or you're classed as that, or you're classed as this. How? Because, well, they're in the party of independence. If they were the party of independence, they would try to get us it. And I'm like you, I don't believe there's got to be anything in 2023. As you say, if there was, we would have a date by now, because there are certain timescales and timeframes that we need to try and meet to ensure that all the parts are done. And when the freedom of information that you spoke of, there's more people working on the GRA in the Scottish Parliament and what's working in independence. And when
There
independence
is.
is supposed to be coming in 2023, there's a lot of work to do for it. A lot of things have changed for 2014. So there'll be a lot of different things need to be encountered. What's your message to the people?
I was going to say to you, what percent do you think we're sitting on at the moment for yes?
For yes?
Because the last,
I would say 60s. I would say maybe early 60s.
I would say 60. So why are we waiting? What did we start on in 2014? Also, can I just quickly say as well, like I had a wee argument with somebody online and they were saying, what about the money that Boris spent, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what about the missing 6K? What about that?
600,000.
I says, listen, why are you not angry about this? And they never come back to me. They just need to put their heads at their bottoms.
Sides. Well, again, it's an ideology. It seems to be that a lot of people are captured by the promise of independence. I mean, the promise of independence will always be there with the SNP. They need the short money. They need everything that they're getting. And it's the gravy train approach. You can keep on eating carrots if you want, but I can already see in the dark. You know what I mean? I don't need a torch. I can already see in the dark. I've had that many carrots. What's your final message then, Wendy, to people of Scotland, and especially to the people of the Kilmarnock North Ward where you're running?
I would say to the people of Kilmarnock North, if you're looking for a councillor that's always going to be available, that'll be there to speak to you, I'll visit your house. If you've got any issues, vote for me. I'll get things sorted for you. We've had things the same for the past how many years? Look at the state of our streets. They're covered in litter. I want to also introduce, I was telling Peter about the brown bins, but I'd also like to do, see like the parks, Peter, every child has got a right to play. So I would like to introduce every park as some wheelchair. You can have a swing or something. I mean, I feel I used to work with kids, young kids, and I used to work with this boy in a wheelchair, and he used to just sit and watch the kids playing, and I thought, that's a shame. So I started running about with this kid in the wheelchair playing at TIG so that he could, and he loved it. I'd like to see more disabled kids out at the park having fun on equipment they'll be safe on. That's what I would like. So vote for me, please. I'll do everything I can for you, but I'm always independence at heart.
Wow, fantastic. Right, well, so for Wendy Mcdonald, for Cinnamon Bridges, for the Satirical Saltire, it's good night. Vote for Alba on the 5th of May. Thanks very much.
Good night, everybody.